The village of Karungo. In the village of Karungo, nestled between the whispering forests and the endless river, lived a young man named Kato. A fisherman by trade, Kato spent his days casting nets into the waters, his heart heavy with impatience. For years he had fought the currents, pulling in fish after fish, yet he remained poor, his dreams of wealth slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. Each morning, he would wake before the sun, set out into the cold mist, and return with just enough to feed himself and his mother. And each evening, he would watch the village merchant, a man draped in fine silks, counting his gold under the flickering light of an oil lamp. The sight burned within Kato, for he could not understand. Why did some men rise effortlessly while others toiled without reward? One day, as Kato sat by the river, lost in thought, his childhood friend, Juma, approached. Juma was a farmer, patient and slow in his ways, yet his fields bore fruit in abundance. Juma, Kato, why do you frown at the river as though it has wronged you? Kato sighed, his voice etched with frustration. Kato, I work harder than most men in this village, yet I have nothing to show for it. I cast my nets, I fight the waves, and still my hands remain empty. Look at the merchant. Does he sweat under the sun? Does he battle the waters? And yet his pockets overflow with wealth. Juma leaned on his staff, his gaze steady. Juma, some trees bear fruit in a season, others take years. But the one who rushes the harvest only gathers bitter crops. Patience, my friend. Kato scowled. Patience. That cursed word. He had heard it from his mother, from the elders, from every slow-moving man in the village. But what had patience brought him except hunger? That night, as Kato lay awake, a whisper slithered through his window. A voice old and dry like cracked earth. Old man. There is another way. Kato bolted upright, his heart hammering. In the moonlight stood an old man wrapped in tattered robes, his eyes glinting like river stones. Old man. The wealth you seek lies not in the waiting but in the taking. The river holds secrets, boy. Secrets it only shares with those who dare. The old man beckoned, and despite the icy grip of fear, Kato followed. Through the sleeping village, past the towering trees, to a part of the river he had never dared venture. The air was thick with silence. The water, unnaturally still. Old man, cast your net but only once, and when you pull it in, you will have all you desire. But beware, greedy hands pull in more than riches. Kato hesitated, his fingers trembling as he cast the net. It sank deep, disappearing into the blackness. Then, a violent tug, a force unlike any he had known. The net dragged him forward, his feet slipping against the wet stones. He gritted his teeth and pulled. Harder, harder. The water churned thick and dark, bubbling with something beneath. Something unseen. A face surfaced. Then another. Hollow eyes staring, mouths twisted in silent screams. The lost souls of those who had cast their nets before him. Kato, gasping, no. He tried to let go, but the net would not release him. It tightened, pulling him closer. The whispers of the damned filled his ears. He had been a fool chasing shadows. Then he remembered. His mother's voice, soft in his childhood. Some things must be done at their own pace. He took a breath, and another. He steadied himself. Instead of pulling, he loosened his grip, moved with the current instead of against it. The net slackened, the river stilled, and when he pulled once more, slowly, patiently, the water parted. In the net lay not gold but a single seed, small, unremarkable. The old man smiled, a knowing, eerie grin before vanishing into the mist. Kato staggered back to the village. His body was weary, but his mind was clear. He held the seed in his palm, its weight heavier than gold. Years passed. The seed grew into a tree, its roots deep, its branches strong. When its fruit ripened, it fed the village for generations. And Kato, no longer a restless boy, but a man of wisdom, understood at last. The river had not tested his strength. It had tested his patience. And in patience, he had found his true reward. The rustling of leaves as the great tree stands tall. Kato no longer envied the merchant, nor did he question the path of others. He had learned what many failed to see, that wealth is not in the taking but in the tending, that some things, no matter how much one desires them, will only come in their own time. And so the village of Karungo thrived, its people never hungry, its children never knowing the bitterness of desperation. And under the shade of the great tree, they told the story of the impatient fisherman and the lesson he had learned. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more untold African legends, myths, and folktales, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. There's a new story waiting for you every day. Don't miss out on the wisdom and mystery of our past. Hit that subscribe button now.